Well, Michael, we just finished the open training session, a very warm one. Shouldn't complain about the weather after what we've had, so it's nice to have a bit of sun. But how was it from your perspective?
Yeah, it was a nice day to see all the kids and the families
Yeah,
down. A great little turnout, and I think it's important, especially this time of year, that we do as much of this as possible. I think it's the next generation of fans are important for any football club, and especially a club like ourselves. We live in a great area, and we want to keep growing the fan base and making it. So I think the players getting out and meeting these young fans and that always helps. So it's great to have everybody down, and again, thankfully we had the weather for it because we ain't had enough of it this year.
and I mean, I was chatting to some of the little kids and their families. I mean, they just they just love the club. But to them, meeting a player, I suppose, a real life player is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, it is great, and I think you can see it with our lads. I was around myself. They know the lads on first name terms. The boys, a lot of the lads know who the kids are, and they call
Yeah,
them by their names. And I think that's the beauty of playing at this level, in the sense of with the fans. There's that kind of, who a lot of the fans are, and you see them here week in, week out. Whereas at bigger clubs, you're playing in massive numbers, and with the way the game's gone, there's a lot of tourists coming into the game. Whereas probably clubs like ourselves, it's more the heartbeat of the community, and it's as I say, you see the same kids down here week in, week out. They wait out there to get autographs week in, week out. They must have copybooks full of Denon Lewis and Mossy signatures. But as I say, at the same side of it, the lads, they know who the kids are, and that it's
yeah,
absolutely brilliant. That's the beauty of it.
and a lot of new names for them to learn this year as well.
Well, exactly that. We've added some good players, and probably give some other people to cheer on and look up to, and that. So that's what we're hopeful, that the lads we've brought in, we've brought them in for a reason, because they're good footballers, but hopefully they can have the impact we want them to, and they'll have the fans, and that'll be fan favourites.
Now on to the pre-season. We chatted last week after the Reading game. You said the first couple, there hadn't been too much to learn, but the Reading was a real test. What was your take on Salisbury?
Yeah, listen, I think the last two pre-season games have probably been more like the way we're going to be this season, in the sense with the players. The first two games were disappointing to a degree, but we brought a lot of young players in on trial, give them opportunity, but we needed to manage our players' numbers as well. The most we could put into them was 45, 60 minutes, so we don't have the squad that's big enough to be able to change it, so we had to have a lot of trialists in, and it probably wasn't as pleasing on the eye. As I say, they're more fitness exercises, but it wasn't pleasing on the eye to watch. They weren't great performances, whereas probably the Reading game were a little bit more like ourselves, smaller squad. We'd get more minutes into our players, and then Salisbury on Saturday, it was really pleasing. I think first of all to go and score 3 goals. We probably should have scored a lot more. So I was really pleased. It was for 70 minutes on Saturday. I thought we looked excellent, and then we kind of came a little bit sloppy again. But at this time of year, it's probably a little bit of tiredness again kicking in, because I think if you look at the goals we've conceded, they've all been around the hour, 70-minute mark. So it's still people looking for fitness, probably a little bit of sloppiness kicking in.
And how does it work in terms of finalising the squad? I mean, obviously there's 10 days till we start, and then you've also hinted in one of the interviews that sometimes things can happen later in August. I mean, how do you see the next phase going, so completing the squad?
Yeah, look, we're quite tight on numbers this year. It's not. Last year the squad was probably too big, and this year is completely different. We're a lot smaller, the squad. You can see in the numbers again. We've still got 4 or 5 trialists around, and it helps us to be able, days like today, to do an 11v11, a little bit bigger numbers. It helps us because we can do what we want. But I think probably next week on we'll be quite small in numbers and tight. We'd still like to add another couple, definitely, and then, as you say, about late August, when probably lads aren't getting out of the football league, they ain't getting the loans around the football league, they'll probably start looking at clubs like ourselves, dropping into the National League. So I might open the window to get some good loans in again.
So I suppose for yourself, it's when to act and when to be patient, I guess.
Yeah, look, a little bit of that. We are quite aggressive early and brought in a lot of good players, and we target that. We knew we were going to be running with a lot smaller squad this year, so I think the big thing for me was, one, we got players that were fit, played a lot of games the last number of years. Two, that they were good players. Three, that they could fit the system we wanted to play. But the main thing for me is we're running with a lot smaller squad. We wanted to have that sort of bond and togetherness, and it was important we got people in the door early. So I think the base of our squad, we done it early, you know, the really the base, and we're hoping to add a few finishing touches now. There's no doubt we need to add in a couple more players, without a doubt, and then hopefully get some good loans along the way as well, and we'll see where we go. You know, maybe I'm being a bit ambitious, but I suppose you gotta be ready for it in case you get them opportunities.
Yeah. And finally, what does next week look like as a sort of lead into the first game?
Yeah, well, that's
What's the focus?
Everything's being geared towards altering them. You know, obviously once the fixtures come out, again, just getting through Saturday as clean as bill of health as possible. To be honest with you, we've a couple of lads this week pulled up a little bit of tightness, not pulled any muscles or nothing, just tightness. And again, with the way the size of the squad, we can't afford to let them train. We need to look after them, because again, if we let them train that tight and they end up pulling some, we'll be out a long time. So we've probably had to be a little bit with smaller numbers. We have to be a little bit more careful with how we look after people with training and things like that. So one or two might miss out the weekend with regards to one eye on altering them, you know, because we need to go into altering them with as clean bill of health as possible.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for your time. It was great this morning. Great the sun is shining. Nice to make the most of it while it's here, but thanks for your time.
Well, that's it. As I say, this year we've had so much rain and bloody frost and things like that. We're not used to getting good days like this. And last week has been lovely, but it's usually a big indicator for the season. The first day of the season's always like this, red hot, and that's it. Hopefully it is come first game of the season like that.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michael. Thanks.